to understand about children is, in essence, they're kind of egotistical with things. So the world kind of revolves around them, and it's very difficult for them to see outside of the box of their own little bubble. When we start talking about unmet childhood needs, there's basically what we're trying to do is meet these emotional needs so that we can develop into healthy adults.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to kind of bridge, like you've piqued my interest right now of everyone starting off. Say you start off, you're an infant, you start to learn, you start to grow, you start to speak, you have your first experiences, and now layers of those experiences that you're having as a human being are now going to add to how you learn, like, to get what you want, because as human beings, that's what we're good for, to get our childhood needs, our childhood needs met. And I want to kind of segue into the met childhood needs that we have, and how that flows into developing our personality.
Yeah. So just before we get into that, let's just talk a little bit about how that temperament influences the way you see the world, and then that can signify a lot around unmet childhood needs. So the temperament that you've got it plays a significant role in the way that you see the world as it develops when you're a child. So the big thing to understand about children, and this is, I've got kids of my own, so I see this on a regular basis, that the big thing to understand about children is, in essence, they're kind of egotistical with things. So the world kind of revolves around them, and it's very difficult for them to see outside of the box of their own little bubble. So for example, if little Johnny's sitting around playing on the carpet in the living room, and dad comes home from work, and he gets up and runs over and he's like, "Daddy, Daddy," and dad's had a bad day, and he slams his bag down on the table, goes straight past little Johnny into the kitchen and starts talking to his wife about what a horrible day he's had. Little Johnny doesn't step back and go, "Oh, wow, dad's having a bad day." Little Johnny steps back and goes, "What did I do wrong?" So they see inside of their own bubble. We, when we're children, see inside of our own bubble. And your temperament has a significant impact. The nature that you're born with has a significant impact in the way that you see those things. So, for example, if you're shy versus sociable, or more of introverted versus extroverted, and that situation plays out, or if you're raised in a situation where say, you're experiencing a certain amount of criticism as a child from a caregiver or a parent. If you are on the introverted side of things, that criticism that you're receiving will be turned into a story about what a failure you are, what a loser you are, how you're not good enough to do anything. Whereas if you're on the extroverted side of things, that temperament will shape the story about what's happening, about how other people are mean. You can't trust other people. They're not the people that you want to be around, and you've got to be always on your guard around people. So your nature dictates the type of stories that you start to create as a result of your childhood experiences. And all of those childhood experiences revolve around trying to meet your emotional needs.
Okay, so getting back to that, and I'm glad that you brought up the insight that children inherently, they don't have the tools that we have, or the insight, or the examples. Empathy is a big thing, because you said, "Hey, listen, would a child say, 'Oh, it looks like dad's had a bad day,' because the whole world in his eyes revolves around his experience, and he's always had that attention."
Right.
The little child that you mentioned as well. And then from that point there, I mean, empathy obviously being the biggest connector of understanding somebody else's experience, stepping back, giving them space as well. That being said, moving forward through that, that experience for them, for us to get our childhood needs met, in order to satisfy our, internal self or our ego, how does that play out as far as developing that personality?
Yeah, so when we start talking about unmet childhood needs, there's basically what we're trying to do is meet these emotional needs so that we can develop into healthy adults, right? And when these needs are met, we start to go out into the world with a healthy sense of self. And these needs basically fall into 5 categories. The first is the need for attachment to others. So we want to feel like we're connected, like we belong, like we're heard and understood, like we fit into the environment that we're in. The second revolves around autonomy. So we want to be able to feel like we're capable and able to do things. We can make our own decisions. And if we make those decisions, we know how to deal with them. The third revolves around freedom. So I want to have the freedom to express myself, to talk about how I feel, to express what my opinion is, and know that opinion is is relevant in the world that I'm existing in. The fourth revolves around spontaneity and play. So I want to be able to be spontaneous and playful so that I can practice things like self-care when I'm a healthy adult. You know, most people who struggle with self-care really have a hard time around unmet needs around spontaneity and play. So they weren't allowed to play when they were children. There was other things that they had to do, so they didn't develop that need. That need wasn't met. And then the fifth and final one revolves around boundaries. So knowing how to respect my boundaries internally. So understanding, where those boundaries come from, what kind of issues they revolve around, and understanding the boundaries of others. So when somebody sets a boundary with me, I respect that. I know what it is. I don't make it about abandonment or rejection, and I know that how to set my boundaries with other people. So inside of these 5 different realms, if those needs are not met, what happens is we start to develop stories about ourselves and the world around us and who other people are inside of that world in order to try to cope with what's going on in life.
Yeah, and I just wanted to see if you can kind of give us an example in your own life that you can choose from, where all these things kind of come together, so that way the listener, our audience, can actually kind of identify with some examples as well, so they can play that in their own life and then get that one thing for themselves.
Yeah, so I think the big one that comes up for pretty much everybody that I work with and everybody that I talk to about these things is the unmet need for attachment. So the need for attachment revolves around feeling like you fit in, feeling like you belong, feeling like you're a part of something in the family. So these needs start getting met with mom and dad, and then out into siblings and extended family, and they just kind of grow from that early environment out into the way that you see in the world. So in my own life, I grew up in a pretty, would be considered to be a pretty healthy family environment, and inside of that environment, there was a lot of people like my brother, my dad, my mom were really into sports. And my brother was a really well-known soccer player. Sorry, I almost said football. Soccer player there and in the community, and everything revolved around sports. Now, I played sports. I was all right at sports. I wasn't brilliant at anything. I was kind of jack of all trades. But my big passion really underneath the surface was I absolutely adored science fiction. But I never really got to talk about it. I always felt like it wasn't something that I could talk about because I was a geek, I was a nerd, I was labeled that way when I talked about those things. So I kept that hidden inside of my personality. I talked about it, but it wasn't really something that I expressed, which left me with a belief that I didn't fit in the family that I was a part of. So I don't belong, I'm not heard, I'm not understood. I'm not recognized in the family. So now I start to develop a schema. So when we start talking about the stories, as a result of that, I start to develop a schema of what's called social isolation. So social isolation is a story that I don't fit in. Hey guys, first of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed the content. This particular chat was filmed as a part of the podcast series to support my good friend, Chuck Basti, and all the work he does as a mental health advocate at Chuck's World of Infinite Mojo. If you want to see the full podcast or just see more of what Chuck does on his social media platform, check out his YouTube channel that's linked in the description below. When it comes to what's going on here, I am on a serious mission to make this platform profitable. Why? Because when I do, I am committed to making sure that every single penny of profit that's made from this YouTube channel goes back into serving the community that needs it most. So, as always, please like this video, leave a comment below, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to get all the latest content available right here at the Liberation Place. Come join us for our live online conversations every week. I'll put all the links in the description below, and let's get the word out there about living the life you want to live, not staying stuck in the life you're currently stuck in. Hopefully, see you soon.